The New Yorker generally contributed an article into the annals of diplomacy called Trump, Putin, and the New Cold War, what lay behind Russia's interference in the 2016 election and what lies ahead. The moment you look at the front graphic presentation, you know it's gonna be bullshit. Captions underneath the picture say, the DNC hacks, many analysts believe, were just a skirmish in a larger war against Western institutions and alliances. The Russia hacked the election card again. From a title like that, you'd expect a balanced and in-depth analysis of contemporary global politics, arguing how the discourse of major superpowers, USA, Russia, China, is unanimously increasing hostile rhetorics among nations. You know, how the United States deploys thousands of combat-ready troops at the border of Russia, how Russia struggles oil and gas deals and is actually managing to make up for the economic sanctions by selling gas to China, or maybe explaining the struggle for geopolitical influence in the Middle East. But no, instead you get a flat-out hit piece on a bad, nasty Russia doing what the United States have been doing since World War II at a scale larger by several orders of magnitude. If you attempt to even remotely provide an explanation of the global politics, and you don't consider that everybody pursues their own selfish national security interests to the best of their capabilities, you probably shouldn't open your mouth in the first place. This one-sided approach to the study of global politics is as damaging as flat earthers are to astrophysics. Man, this piece is huge. The three dudes wrote 13,224 words that span over 37 pages. You'd thought that by reading this, you would know everything about world politics. Wrong. Just to give you some quantitative data on how biased this article is, it mentions the word Russia 199 times, while the United States only 17 times. It mentions Putin 103 times, while Trump sort of only 72 times, but it's so disproportionate compared to 38 mentions of Obama's 2 terms and 37 mentions of Clinton, mostly related to the Hillary's campaign. If you wanted to take this article as an understanding of world politics, you would have thought that the United States is under constant military and propaganda threat from Russia that's going after American institutions, infrastructure, and entire democracy. Russia could barely fight Chechnya, a small republic in the North Caucasus of 1 million citizens. These bastards want to make you think Russia is at the bringing down of the whole West. It takes the DNC hacks as a given fact without question, because 17 intelligence agencies claimed it was Russia without providing sufficient evidence. Everything they say is true by default, like Iraq having nuclear weapons back in 2003, or Assad massacring thousands of civilians by chemical weapons. Blaming hacks on a state-sponsored adversary is an easy excuse, especially when there is zero evidence for attribution. But more often than not, it's just bad security practices that expose the data to the risks that could have been exploited by any low-level actor. Yahoo blamed the hacks that stole data of its billion users on a state adversary, while someone on the dark web was selling Yahoo accounts login details for money. DNC hacks say more about their cybersecurity than about who attacked them. Here is an insight. Russia is not a threat. It can't afford to be. The only thing that supports its great power status are nukes, but US has them in roughly the same amount. There was a study in 2009 that evaluated the state of Russian military, and it said this: the conventional forces lack the capabilities for global power projection, and effectiveness leaves much to be desired. This is due to obsolete equipment, inadequate training, and outdated operational concepts. This was before a proposed reform to modernize Russian military was implemented, to which the same report argued success of the reforms would not fundamentally alter the balance of forces with NATO. Having slim financial resources and industrial capabilities, bad demographics for recruitment, and no coherent profile for the armed forces, the study concluded the gap between great power claims and actual capabilities in Russian military affairs will remain. The only place where Russia can stand is cybersecurity. But even there, United States has it covered, as its combined NSA and intelligence budgets are almost greater than the entire Russian defense budget. They have the whole world wiretapped better than anyone through various programs, as we've learned thanks to Ed Snowden. Russia is a regional hegemon, but the United States is a global hegemon. No other military in the world comes even close to the US operation ability, logistics, and level of mobilization. Russia is mostly concerned with a territory that it calls near abroad, which describes former Soviet republics and its immediate borders. Russia has been hardly successful in operating in its own territory during First and Second Chechen Wars, and the furthest it has gone was Georgia, east of Ukraine and Crimea, and partly Syria, while the United States operated in Bosnia, Iraq, twice, Libya, Somalia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Syria, and many more if you broaden your scale. And many of these interventions were long-term, spanning over several years, including Yemen, Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan, which the Americans never left since 2001. Russian army is made to operate within 1,000 kilometers or less from its borders. The United States intervenes across oceans, with roughly around 800 to 1,000 military bases around the world. Comparatively, the United States possesses twice as many troops, 10 aircraft carriers, and roughly 10 times the defense budget of Russia. While Russia has only one aircraft carrier, they sold another one to China for a floating casino, has fewer submarines, and exceeds US only in the number of nuclear warheads, but that contributes nothing to their operation ability, since nukes are generally useless in capturing territory. Russia also has more tanks than the United States, but tanks are increasingly obsolete in the modern battlefield. Russia was surprisingly successful in Crimea, only because of the easy access and political vacuum that allowed for a unique opportunity for Russia to capture a foreign territory directly at its borders. Unlike anything US intervened in, Crimea had a sizable Russian population at their side. Of course, US started to perceive this as Hitler's move on Poland or the Sudetenland, claiming Baltic states are next to be swallowed. Baltic states are politically stable and are actually in NATO. Even if they weren't, Russia couldn't afford to stand on another front. Russia struggles to maintain stability within its own borders, and is just now getting out of deep recession it's been going through since 2014 drop of oil prices. Russia cannot do any more foreign interventions. Forget threatening the United States. The Syria situation gets easily misinterpreted as Russia seeking influence in the Middle East by propping up a dictator. But actually, Russia is fighting separatists who in the name of jihad want to declare a caliphate within their own borders in the North Caucasus. Of course, Kremlin takes advantage of this war on terror by cracking down on secular Chechen separatists to protect its own oil and gas pipelines that go directly through Chechnya to Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan. Russia ended up fighting jihadists from Al-Qaeda that the United States helped create to fight the Soviet Union. Russia is involved in Syria to protect the integrity of its own borders and oil interests, while the United States is involved in Syria to back proxies of Turkey and Saudi Arabia to maintain its geopolitical influence inherited from Cold War and to protect its oil interests. Power isn't really that different. It's the same motive and goal pursued by those who have the capacity to do it. Claiming to explain how it works by bashing the other side while overlooking your own is a crime against reason. You don't have to pick sides in this debate. You can remain independent and have a fresh and sane opinion on this.
On blue